All right, well, Merry Christmas, everybody. This is our Christmas episode 2021. Did anybody tell y'all that Santa, his sleigh is a Honda? Have you ever thought about it? How does he get to all of those children on time and all in one night? It's red. You should have known that. It's a Honda. So we got our Honda 250R out, and I have been ordering a lot of parts. And the two things, people are always there, everybody's asking me what was wrong with the bike. And the two things that were wrong with the bike is it had no brakes and the chain had been thrown, and that caused the sprocket to come off. And then whoever was working on the bike back then, they stripped out the threaded output shaft, and then therefore they couldn't bolt a new sprocket on. So I was luckily able to re-tap that threaded area of the output shaft, put a new bolt in it. People ask, where do you get your bolts? I get specific Honda bolts I get from Partzilla.com. You know, every now and then you can get by with a bolt from a parts store or from a hardware store, and that's fine. But there are certain bolts that are very specific to these bikes. So here's the plan. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna build this bike in two phases. Phase one is taking it literally out of the field, and what's the minimum that we need to do to make the bike dependable, safe, and rideable. So that's phase one, and that's what we're gonna see tonight. I think I have enough to put this back together, and we're gonna ride it at the end of this video. That's my hope. Brakes was a big issue with this bike. The front caliper was completely stripped out, and the rear housing was just a mess. And if you have one of these bikes, those calipers are very expensive. I think I've got the rear caliper fixed. We're gonna find out. The master cylinder on the rear was the bigger problem, is why it wouldn't pump up, why it wouldn't apply any pressure. I have a 450R stay and bushing and caliper. I went ahead and ordered it. That's a common swap for these bikes. I'll put the part numbers down. Now these are all Honda parts. Any part really that I purchased for phase one is the right part, or a part that more than likely I would use in phase two. I don't believe in halfway doing a project like this in phases. You end up spending twice as much money. Go ahead and buy the part you want in phase two, put it on the bike in phase one. And then that way when phase two, when you get to it, and that may take a while. Some people, it may take you a year or better to get to a phase two stage. But you've already got the parts you're really gonna want, the parts that are gonna last. Tires, for example. I could buy some cheap tires and I could put on it and go phase one, but then I gotta turn around and buy the tires that I really want for the bike for phase two. So what I've done is I've just gotten some tires that have been laying around the shop. You see there's some 22s on here. Those are some GBCs. I don't like them. I'm not gonna run them in phase two, but they're free because I've already got them in the shop. And so that's why they're on the bike now. But as for the wheel bearings and the brakes and the calipers and the cables and the levers, the switches, I'll give you kind of a rundown of everything I've done so far with the camera really kind of off. I can cut some of that in there if you want to see it. It's pretty basic stuff. It's really nothing that's that tedious. But we went ahead and I deleted the parking brake. I'm not going to use one. I just went to a single lever here on the front. The lever was just trashed. The cables were trashed. I'm literally making a pile of rusted stuff. Now keep in mind, when you pull a bike out of the barn, when you pull it out of the woods or the trees or wherever you find one of these bikes, they are going to be rusted up. And that's going to be your biggest enemy in a project like this. It probably won't be making the bike run. The problem you're going to get frustrated with is fighting the rust. Where is it going to stop? Now, I looked at this bike really close. I always talk about how important it is a bike be complete. The frame is not rusted on this bike. There's one little section about the size of a quarter on the passenger side over there, or on the right side of the bike. This got a little surface rust on it where the hanger broke on the muffler. It's not a big deal. Structurally, the bike is good. The rust I'm talking about is the nuts and the bolts and the wires and the brackets and all the little doodads that kind of hold everything together. Brake caliper bolts and axles and the levers. I had to cut the levers off, and I hated to do that on original levers, but I couldn't get them off. The handlebars are completely, rusted, not out, but they need to be taken off, sandblasted and painted or replaced. So again, everything that I purchased in phase one is something that I want to use in phase two. Phase one may last a while. You know, for most people, phase one would probably last them a riding season until the next winter, and then that's probably when they would tear the bike down. So you don't want to be working on it all season. Spend a little money up front, get the good parts that you're going to want in phase two, and go ahead and apply them in phase one. So rundown for what we've got. We've already put wheel bearings in the front wheel. We've got a new front caliper to go on the front. The rotor looks in good shape. That tire is holding air and is in good shape. It's not an original tire. We're going to run it. I needed a brake hose. The hose for the front was shot. I needed a brake front master cylinder. It was completely toast as well, along with the lever. So that takes care of the front end. We're going to have brakes on the front end. Starting at the rear, coming back, we do need to put bearings in the rear. We'll put a new carrier in it. We chain and sprockets are on it. I didn't just put a chain on it, and I didn't just put a front sprocket on it. You'll see that I've got front and rear sprockets on like they're supposed to be. This is not, you know, this is phase two kind of stuff. Some of those particular bolts that I was talking about, the bolts that hold the rear sprocket on, I stripped two of them out. I actually broke one of them in half. Those bolts are Allen head, and they are actually flush mounted. They actually recess into the bracket. Specialized bolts. Honda genuine bolt for that. The brake caliper bolts are the same way. The output shaft bolt on transmission was the same way. All specialized bolts. That's pretty much, you saw me clean up the tank. I got a new petcock for it. I'm not going to bore you with that. So let me show you what else we got. We got a ton of stuff. It's Christmas. It really is Christmas. So here we go. And so we got a new snap ring for our rear caliper. We've got bearings. We got a new front caliper. It is a Nissan. As you can see, this is our front caliper here. We're going to be putting that on. And that actually comes from BDT. Not sponsored, but that's who I got the caliper from. Also got a bushing for the rear brake stay and a rear stay from them. So here's our petcock. We talked about that, so we got a new petcock for the tank. And these are all the things you're going to run into. This is our block off plate caliper. We can delete that. Parts. When you're purchasing Honda parts, you need to look for the Honda logo. You need to look for the Honda part number. Otherwise, you're really not sure what you're going to be getting. Partzilla is not somebody you got to worry about with that. So Partzilla, if you're watching, y'all should call me. We got a rear stay. We got some two-stroke oil. Now I've got a surprise coming up here at the end of this video. This is what you want. If you're not racing your bike and you got a two-stroke, this is what you want. This is the 710 by Motul. Check them out. You can find that on Amazon. Went ahead and got to get a quick mix. Go ahead and get a quick mix so you can go ahead and get your mix right. These bikes, you got to think about this. They're 30 years old. That's 30-year-old technology that's in these bikes. They're recommending a 20-to-1 mix. Nowadays, they're recommending a 40 or a 50-to-1 mix. So pay attention to that. Your bike will thank you for it. We got brake pads. We got a rear master cylinder, which is very important. We got a 450R rear caliper. Again, if you're looking for these, you can pick these up on eBay. This is a rear caliper setup for a 450R. It's a very common swap. You swap the stay, you put in a spacer, and you run this caliper. Far cheaper than a 86 caliper, which is a 1 year only kind of setup. So things I learned too. Honda, part number. Grips. Now I know what you're saying. Man, they got grips on Amazon for like $4. They do, and I bought them. I won't buy them again. That's tells you everything you need to know. $12 eBay, original equipment for the pair. So this bike suffered almost a catastrophic failure. When the chain come off, it did mess up the two bolts that hold the chain guard on. So I went ahead and I didn't come with a chain guard, so I had to get a chain guard. I went ahead and got a fancy one. Phase 2 part. And I've also got a case saver that's part of this. And so that's going to be going on this bike. So at this point going forward, if that chain comes off again, we don't have to worry about that. That's killed a lot of these bikes, and not just 250Rs, but aluminum case dirt bikes. Those chains come off, they wind up in there, they bind between the sprocket and the case, they're spinning at 5,000 RPMs. something's got to give. And unfortunately, it's the case. Christmas has always been special in my family, and so I'm hoping to pass that on, the importance of Christmas. Some thank yous I'd like to send out. First and foremost, I'd like to thank my Uncle Larry for pushing me to start a YouTube channel and helping me gather up a lot of these bikes. I appreciate it, Larry, and I hope you have a Merry Christmas. I've been given a few gifts recently, and I wanted to share those with you, and it pertains to this bike. I had a gentleman reach out to me. I'm not going to say his whole name. His name is Ken. Last name starts with a C. Ken, you know who you are. Thank you. He he sent me a message, and he says, "You're not going to ride that bike with that seat on it, are you?" And I'm like, "Well, I mean, I kinda, yeah, you know, phase one." And he says, "I put something in the mail for you, and you should get it in a couple of days." So I waited with bated breath. I didn't know what to expect. I don't know Ken. I don't know Ken from Adam's House Cat. About 3 days later, FedEx shows up. Not promoting FedEx by no means. And Ken had sent me a seat. It's a 1985 250R seat. So Ken, again, thank you very much. I'll get an 86 cover for it, just so when you look at the bike, you'll know. Those of us that are learning these bikes, and me included, gray engine, seat should say ATC on it versus 250R. Actually, I like the 250R better. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. A really wonderful gesture and a kind individual. So Ken, thank you again for the seat, and hopefully I'll keep my butt on it and won't fall off of it. But the next gentleman, and I'm kind of overwhelmed by it. I'm not going to install his part until phase two. The bike's not going to warrant what he so kindly sent me. So I'd made a video about finding this bike, bringing it out of the woods, and it's a field find. I've been reprimanded a few times for calling it a barn find. There could have been a barn there. A long time ago, there could have been a barn. And now it's gone, and the bike was still there. So we don't know. Who knows? So I'm going to keep calling it a barn find. There. So Curtie reached out to me, and he says he wanted to be a part of this build, and he wanted to know if I needed some help with it. And yeah, I need some help with it for sure. So he says, well, what's your plans for the bike? I said, well, I don't know. It's my first 250R. I said, I just want to ride it. He says, well, how are you going to build the motor? So I'm just going to make it run. And so he says, okay, so you're just going to put it back kind of factory? And I said, yeah. So he starts asking me about what kind of oil I run and what kind of way I ride my bike. And I didn't know where he was going any of this, and he asked me for my address. I gave it to him. And about a week later, I go to the mailbox, and he sent me a piece of artwork like I ain't never seen before. I want you to take a look at this. Now, I don't know if that camera's going to do it justice or not, but do you think that I could put something as beautiful as that on a bike as ugly as this? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to put this on phase two, which won't be too long. We're going to get it up and running now, phase one, and then I'm going to put this carburetor on it in phase two. And I'm going to give you a full detailed report on it. But Curtie Eldridge, that's his name. He owns a carburetor rebuild shop. He's got a wonderful website. Check him out. It's over at 223 Cycles. I'm gonna have the link to him. Y'all check him out. Y'all go check out his website. I'm gonna have a link in the description. Just go straight over there to it. He, man, I tell you, he's been just an amazing individual to meet. And really, I'll just be real honest with you. I didn't get on Facebook until last year. That's right. I opened my first account. They thought I was somebody else. I opened my first account on Facebook last year, and I've met people like Curtie and like Preston and like Ken, and they've helped me all along the way. Just knowledge, just sharing and the passion of three-wheelers and bringing stuff back. And I got to talking to Curtie. His family's been doing race cars, carburetors, and racing themselves since 1919. His great-grandfather was racing. He's grown up with it. I tell you, it was really neat to have a conversation with him. And that's the kind of people you're going to meet in the three-wheeler world. If you're new to three-wheelers, you're going to meet a lot of nice people out there. And Curtie is certainly one of them. I can't wait to put this on and tune it and get it dialed in. It's going to be a rocket ship. So here's what I am going to do. I'm going to change shirts. This is my Christmas shirt. I wear this around the house for Christmas. I'm a big fan of the Griswolds, you know, the Christmas Vacation movie. If you know me, you know what I'm talking about. That's I've already watched it 3 times this year. It's probably my favorite Christmas movie, right next to It's a Wonderful Life. I mean, it's probably the best movie ever made. It's a Wonderful Life. And not colorized. Don't colorize my movies now. If it came black and white, it's done black and white, leave it black and white, please. Don't be messing with it. Andy Griffith's the same way. Jeff, that's for you. Andy Griffith should always be in black and white. Anyways, I'm going to get started. I got a lot of work to do. I'm probably going to put this on time lapse. I'm going to turn some tunes on. And I hope that when I get done, we're going to ride this thing out on Christmas morning. So let's see what happens. I appreciate y'all watching. Merry Christmas. I got another video coming. It's end of the year. I've kind of taken all of the videos. I have made 50 videos this year. I had no idea. 50, 50, half of them ain't no good, but the other half are not bad. And I appreciate y'all that have watched them. So I'm going to get started on this. Again, thank you for watching and subscribing and sharing, and let's see what happens. Okay guys, there you go. That's what it takes. It takes a lot. Sprocket chains, the bolts, levers. I went ahead and changed the control switches here on the dash. Every time I touched the original ones, they were so brittle they just fall apart. Master cylinder, brake calipers, brackets, brake pads. I've got the new petcock, carburetor. Curtie, I'm going to do a complete review on that. That carburetor is amazing. This one's leaking at the moment. That's okay. That's okay. This is the original carburetor. I wanted to show you what you could do with one of these barn finds. They're not all going to be this hard. They're not all going to be this easy. But it's a starting point. You can get into a bike like this relatively inexpensive. That was fun. It's been 20 years since I rode a two-stroke, and you could probably tell I feathered the clutch a little bit there. It'd come back to me. It's like riding a horse, right? Isn't that what they say? Yeah. I'll give you a quick once over what it took. It took a lot. It took a lot to get this together. It's been a whirlwind. A lot of people have helped. A lot of people have made this possible, and I'm grateful for it. Thank you again to those that I mentioned earlier. This is phase one. We're going to tear this bike down and go through it and really make it as nice as it can be. What that's going to entail, I'm not sure, but it runs and rides. It starts on the second or third kick. You can't ask for much more than that. I've got new stuff that doesn't start that well. It's Christmas Eve, and that was my goal. My goal was to ride that bike. It's got a long way to go. I told you this is phase one. I wanted to show you what it would take in this instance to take a bike out of a barn or out of a field and put it back together and put it back on the trail. No, they're not all gonna be this easy or this hard, depending on what your skill set is. This one, I've ended up double what I paid for it in parts to get it running. And when we go to phase two, that number's gonna go up a lot. But look at what we have. We have a 1986 250R. And I'll let you in on a little secret. And I didn't know this. When you get into these hobbies, you learn so much. You meet people and you learn from them, and you read and you read and you read, and you just gather so much information and in the little nuances between the different models. And it's kind of like a discovery. You know, it's a mystery. You know, well, what's the difference between this, or you know, that kind of thing. This bike is number 26, made in 1986. 26. So that really doesn't mean anything in the, you know, off-road world. If this was a number 26 last year production Shelby Cobra, yeah, 26 is a big deal. Copo Camaro, yeah, it's a big deal. 250R is probably not that big a deal, but it is kind of neat. It really is kind of neat to think that when this rolled off the factory, it was number 26. So that's it. That's all I got to say. I'm grateful for your patience in getting this put together. It's kind of a long video. I didn't think it was going to happen. I really didn't. I called 14 motorcycle shops on Christmas Eve to find a brake hose. That's how close it was. I was not going to ride this without brakes. With the clutch being questionable, safety has to play a part in this. And I met a nice couple today, and they actually donated the front brake line off their Honda Gnome. And so Seth, Liz, thank you. Merry Christmas. I hope you and the kids have a wonderful holiday. Thank you for this. We couldn't have done it without you. And so there's your brake line right there. They got us through. You just never know who you're going to meet in this world and who's going to help you out. So that's it. That's a once over. That's phase one, y'all. Phase two is going to be exciting. I can't wait. Again, Ken, thank you for the seat. I love it. 250R. I think that looks better than the 86. Don't tell anybody. It's been amazing. It really has, to get it from that field to this point right now. Curtie, that carburetor is a work of art, and in phase two, it's going to be the shining star. Thank you both, all of you, for your help in putting this bike together for this video. It's going to be the centerpiece in my collection, no doubt. I'm beside myself. I can't smile enough or say it enough. This is a bucket list bike for me. I put it in the title that it was a unicorn. I really never thought I would find a liquid R. If I found an R at all, it's probably going to be an 84 air cooled or something like that. And those are great bikes. But when you start talking production numbers of the liquid R being made for 2 years only, they get kind of scarce. Okay, that's it. Santa has come early for me. It's going to go down as a very, very big year for me. 1986, number 26, 250R. It's a unicorn. It's my unicorn. It's my holy grail. It's going to be the center of my collection. So look forward to more content, y'all. We're going to do phase 2 on this bike a little bit. I'm probably going to have to take a week off or so, let my credit card cool off a little bit, but we're going to tackle this again. I'm going to give you a full rundown of what it takes to complete. I don't even know where we're at right now on it, or I'd tell you. Not terrible, but what we've purchased is what it needed to get it to running, riding condition. And that's phase 1. Phase 2, of course, is going to be more. We're going to take the top 4 bikes that I've got in my collection, and then we're going to focus on those coming up in 2022. We've got the little CT70 clone. I know a lot of you guys like those. I like them. I think they're pretty cool. We're going to jazz that up. I don't know what we're going to exactly do to it, how far we're going to take it, but I like it. But we've got the ATC250R now. We've got an 85 350X, and we've got 3 200Xs. And so those are probably what I consider the top of the line of the collection. We do have the SX and the ES still in the house, but they really don't need a lot of work. So anyways, let me get here where you can see this. I want y'all to know that that my daughter donated her Christmas tree for this video. So y'all get out and y'all make some good memories. Get out in the shop, turn some wrenches, and you know, get the kids out there. They're gonna have to learn. They're gonna have to keep these bikes running when we're gone. It's been a journey this year. We've overcome a lot, but we kept our head down. We stayed focused, and we got a lot done. We got a lot done. I'm working on an end of the year video, and we're gonna end up with 52 videos this year. And considering everything that I've went through personally, I think that's a huge accomplishment for me, or for anybody for that matter. I'm glad you enjoy the channel. I look forward to making more videos, and I hope y'all look forward to coming back and watching them. So with that said, Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.